Welcome back to New Rockstars. This is The Big Question. It's a show that gives you too much information about which Cap has the strongest wrists.
What? Is that all? That's our question?
That's kind of a question, but it's what I researched, and I have no regrets. I'm Erik Voss. This is Filup Molina.
Hi. I'm mad that you did wrists instead of what I actually asked.
Well, what is this episode going to be about then?
Because it's about the new Captain America legacy and who it may go to in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier seems like that's the big question of that show is like who's going to be the next Cap or who is worthiest of carrying that torch or that shield. So what exactly is the big question for us this week?
Okay, which caps, Cap possibilities are most likely to become the true Cap and carry the shield in the MCU from now on?
Okay, yeah, and that is an important question because we found out this week actually, or last week, that Carl Lumbly. We found out this week that Carl Lumbly has been added to the cast of the Falcon Winter Soldier. We don't know specific details about who his character is, other than there's some speculation that he might be playing Isaiah Bradley, who in the early 2000s was a black Captain America. With all these characters in it, there's also the drama between Sam and Bucky, who is worthier of the shield, and they're bringing in a US agent character. So it's kind of sounding like it's gonna be the succession of Cap's shield, or like HBO's Succession. They're gonna play Boar on the Floor for the shield. What would that even look like?
Cookie.
That's a different thing, but it's based on it. Okay, here's the deal. I counted 12 potential candidates with people who have claims for the shield. If they wanted to come forward and say, you know what, I deserve to carry the shield, they could do it. The MCU has established 12 different people to do this.
These are like Baratheon's bastards or something.
Yes, yes. We'll go through them all, but they're really, you can clump them into 3 different groups based off of what direction the MCU might want to go in. Categories, one might say.
I hate that.
Oh, come on, Daddy, don't you love me?
What?
Do you like my pun?
I hate this more than I hate
my pun,
the category.
Daddy? I'm a little boy. You see, you're applying last week's rules of Daddy. Leather Danny.
Erik.
Daddy. Yeah.
Erik.
To this week. This week, it's just a little boy
I would
saying
never
Daddy.
be okay with this thing you're doing of calling me Daddy.
Okay, the first category we're going to talk about is what I call the on-deck caps, the immediate successors.
Caps on deck.
Caps on deck. The people who have already been established in the MCU, people with names and faces and actors playing them, and will appear in upcoming properties, specifically the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which has itself 5 cap options.
Holy crap.
The first one's the obvious one, Falcon, Sam Wilson. That was the chosen successor by Steve Rogers. He handed the shield to him at the end of Endgame. He's going to be the central figure of the show. We already see him in trailer footage, discus tossing shields into the tree.
And he's a human.
Pretty well. But is it a mistake that it went into the tree, or was it intentional?
like the shoot that was not intending to hurt that tree?
No, because Cap, what he's great with is bouncing that shield, ricocheting it off of things. And by wedging it in the tree, was that a mistake? Or did he want to cut down that tree?
Because it's racist.
Because it's racist.
It's on a plantation.
And plantations are racist.
I watched the video.
Yeah. But I think shield handling ability is a good indicator and barometer of someone's worthiness to be Cap. Because if they can't handle that shield, get out of the kitchen, you know? But the second option is Bucky, of course. So Bucky is the one that a lot of fans wanted to carry the shield after Steve Rogers handed it off. Lifelong best friend.
He's carried the shield in the comics.
He has carried the shield in the comics. The problem is that he, in this universe currently, has a reputation of a terrorist and an assassin. And do we really want that person to be the bearer of Captain America? I kind of do. But you could see how Steve's like, maybe the public won't accept you as Captain America more than this guy who's like a veterans counselor and a soldier already. Okay, so the third option that this show is presenting to us is US Agent John Walker. So Wyatt Russell's joining the cast as this new government-approved poster boy Cap successor. He's got his own suit. He's got his own shield. We don't know if that's the same shield. That's all it really takes. And you know, that's a good point because like what made Captain America in the 40s, right? It was the super soldier serum, but really it was more of a propaganda tool.
It was branding, yeah.
It was all branding. So whoever the government says is Captain America, in a sense, is Captain America.
It's kind of like Santa Claus becomes Scott Calvin because he looks like him.
Yeah.
You put on the suit, you're the big guy.
Now, in the comics, U.S. Agent is kind of this villainous figure, and I've speculated, we released a video earlier this week, that U.S. Agent could be kind of a puppet that's being controlled by Zemo in the same way that he tried to control Bucky in the Civil War film, which brings us to another candidate, Zemo. So Zemo is joining this story, and in the comics, Zemo creates the first iteration of the Thunderbolts. And they all take these patriotic, pro-heroic facades. And his is Citizen V. So Citizen V originally was an English guy who his father killed back in the war. And then he stole that identity. And then Zemo, the younger Zemo, stole that identity to be kind of like a Captain America-esque figure to try to be a replacement Avengers or Fantastic Four. It didn't work because the rest of the Thunderbolts turned against him. But Daniel Bruhl, as Zemo, is joining the story. That could be his kind of secret mystery plot, is by filling that void as a new Captain America and trying to steal that legacy.
And I think Captain America as a brand, they try to follow the path of the American flag. And it being occasionally problematic, right? Like, so for instance, the Southern flag that a lot of states have issues with. Should we still use them, or should we take them away? It's having to acknowledge that being the representative of America is not always necessarily like truth, justice, in the American way or whatever. Sometimes it's like, I think I took out the dictator in a country, but then it turned out the CIA just wanted him out because they wanted to put in their own dictator or something.
That's
like
right.
We have a dark past, and I think that this is the best thing that ever happened to Captain America, is that he kind of starts to realize his allegiance isn't necessarily to the people that are always right, and these characters, complicating it even further, are essentially like bad guys, but they're still like, look at me, I'm wearing stars and stripes, I must be good.
Yeah, flags and political allegiances change meaning over time, and as the decades go forward, it's kind of like we all had that decal of Calvin pissing on something on our cars,
on our mud flaps.
Now it's not as fun to have that on your car, because who wants to encourage little boys peeing?
Hey, didn't you pee enough in bed already?
It's disgusting. And our fifth option, in case all these warring factions in Falcon Winter Soldier are irreconcilable, we still have Old Cap. Old Man Cap is still alive in this world.
So. Yeah, what's he doing now? Peggy's dead.
Who knows? What do old men like to do? Some crossword puzzles. They like to feed some ducks.
But he can still play also bench 500,
Oh yeah, that guy's, he's ripped tight 80, I think we discovered, right? So he's still alive. If they can get Chris Evans to come back, or just an old man who we see off screen, he could say, you know what, I'm taking my legacy back, because none of you have really earned this.
It's like when Jay Leno tried to take back the Tonight Show.
Exactly. Yeah. Cap is, his family is cars now. Okay, and that brings us to the newcomer to this cast, Carl Lumbly, who some people are saying is playing Isaiah Bradley, who was a Black Cap. And that kind of brings us to our second category, the Bradley family.
Capagory.
I've
come around.
Thank you. Got him, right? So there's an interesting possibility with this Falcon Winter Soldier show, and that the showrunner is this screenwriter named Malcolm Spellman. Do you know Malcolm Spellman?
Maybe.
Yeah. Malcolm Spellman's one of the best writers. This guy is super talented, but he's also extremely outspoken about issues of race. Every project he works on, he's kind of like the tip of the spear for race relations, for bringing this stuff into our work. He wrote on Empire. He was going to produce that show Confederate on HBO that they ended up canceling because they had the Game of Thrones guys at the top of it. They should have just had Malcolm Spellman be like the face of it. It was going to be an alternate history in which the Confederacy won the Civil War. It's like a Man in the High Castle, but instead of like the Nazis winning, it's like the South winning and seeing what the modern day U.S. would look like.
Which goes on what I was saying earlier too, just this idea of like, we kind of have a dark history.
We do. And I'd be surprised if Falcon Winter Soldier with Malcolm Spellman on that writing staff, I'd be surprised if it didn't address race in some way. So that's why I think like going into Sam's family history and bringing in a possible Isaiah Bradley, because his whole Cap journey in the comics it didn't like shy away from race. He leaned into it. It was kind of like not a what if scenario, but it was like the same thing that gave Captain America his powers. It was almost like a Tuskegee Airmen type story where what if these black men were given these powers. Isaiah Bradley was like a black Captain America who was given the super soldier serum, and then we see like throughout the 20th century the different ways that intersects with society. So all of like black celebrities and other black superheroes worship this guy the way Steve Rogers was kind of worshipped. They all like admire his patriotism and like what he did for his people and what he did for his country. He got into some controversy during World War II and he ended up getting pardoned by Eisenhower. He's this controversial figure, but he's super interesting. And then, so that's another option if he's in the show.
You're kind of giving me Killmonger vibes a little bit. Right. Like, it's controversial but he kind of has good points.
But it's provocative.
Yeah, and the character of Killmonger, especially in the recent iteration of Black Panther, was based on Malcolm X, who was kind of saying we need a revolution in society. And in the same way, there's a lot of intersection with the ideology of Malcolm X with Isaiah Bradley as a character. And Malcolm X is in the comics and likes this guy, and he meets with him, and everyone kind of makes these pilgrimages to see this guy and to meet with him. And they're in awe of his.
I wonder if there's another statement being made there where Captain America is supposed to be a reflection of the state of the state, right? The State of the Union. And then if it's time for a revolutionary type, say we need to raise the system and bring the underprivileged into power and kind of shake it all up, and that kind of goes with the revolutionary figure, which it sounds like Isaiah is.
Yeah, and you can imagine a version of Falcon Winter Soldier, this show, where he's kind of like this old retired version of Cap that never got the attention because the government didn't care about telling that story. But Falcon, as the new successor to the Shield, Sam Wilson, might dig into that history and discover someone like Isaiah Bradley and be like, how have I not heard your name before? But if that ends up happening in the show, brings up our next option for who a successor could be, his grandson, Elijah Bradley.
And this is an actual baby.
This is an actual baby.
Wow.
A baby Cap.
Baby Cap. It works with
Cap.
our baby Avengers cartoon show we're pitching.
So Elijah Bradley is the Young Avengers character named Patriot. So Young Avengers' more recent comics, it includes Iron Lad, Hulkling, Wiccan, Stature, Kate Bishop as the new Hawkeye, and he has kind of these superhuman abilities that he says was from a transfusion from his grandfather, a blood transfusion that gave him that super soldier serum. We find out that was a lie. No! He was actually using a mutant growth hormone to try to enhance his abilities. The rest of the Young Avengers were like, Elijah, you don't need to do this. You're a great team member. We'll still want you on this team. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna go clean. And he leads the team because he's got great natural athleticism. He's got a great strategic mind, kind of like how Cap is. Compared to the other Avengers, he's not as strong. He's still superhuman, but really it's because he's a good leader and he's just got a good war tactics mind. That's the role Elijah plays to the Young Avengers. And you could think if Marvel in Phase 4 is trying to set up the future, you could definitely see a scenario, right, where Sam Wilson, looking back in the past, finds this untold history of an older Black Cap, and he's out of the game now, but he's got this grandson who could be, maybe Sam wants to save Falcon, but his lesson that he learns is to pass on the shield to a younger generation, setting us up with a new Young Avengers in Phase 4 and Phase 5.
Isn't there also a version of Patriot that is the result of when Isaiah's in prison, they stole his semen?
Oh, God.
they forced a
I think there is a spinoff where Josiah X is the name, and they tried to make a spinoff that they were in control. Yeah, there's a villain.
That's just a very personal story to me.
Someone stealing your semen?
No, it's how I was made.
Oh. Okay, good. I'm glad you don't know that someone's stealing your semen.
It does. I put it under my pillow every night, and then when I come back, it's gone. But there's 6 teeth there.
But speaking of scarily possible hypotheticals, let's move on to our final category, the what if caps.
Ooh.
So now that we're expanding into a multiverse, kind of these hypothetical scenarios are weirdly possible, because Marvel is kind of saying, we're in a multiverse of possibilities now. We're not going to tell you which one we're going to stick with or which ones are going to be canon, or maybe they'll all be canon. But we have seen, so first off, Avengers Endgame ended with Captain America living his life with Peggy Carter in an alternate timeline as young Steve Rogers. So theoretically, Marvel could still show what that alternate history looked like. We could see young Chris Evans living an alternate 20th century history.
Talk about big questions. One of the biggest questions is, what the hell did he do for the last 7 years?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did he try to subvert history, or did he just try to stay off on the sidelines? Did he go rescue Bucky? Did he fight alongside Bucky and Peggy? Are there a whole nother alternate universe of characters?
This what if Cap is, what if it's still just Steve Rogers?
What if it's still just Chris Evans?
But he didn't get frozen.
Right. So what I'm saying is there's a possibility where young Chris Evans, Steve Rogers could still exist, still carrying the shield, fighting the same fights as Cap as we've seen before. But another option is we've had the What If series coming out on Disney+. And we've seen some footage, some animated cells, not a full trailer yet, but the different conventions have been shown. In the first episode, we've seen limited footage of this in animation cells of what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum.
Jacked.
And young... Guns everywhere.
The America I want to live in. And I already do.
Steve Rogers as a skinny dude is still in that story, so we see how like he would.
And she like carries him everywhere.
Come on. So we could see like a version of a reality where Peggy Carter is Cap, like a female Cap, you know, so that's another what if. But then in Avengers Endgame, there's also a little throwaway line where they mention a character named Braddock. And Braddock is Brian Braddock, Captain Britain, who's a UK version of Captain America, who oversees the Captain Britain Corps, which is a league of interdimensional Avengers who help solve problems across dimensions. So there's an implication that in this multiverse, it's going to be governed by a Captain Britain Corps, and Captain Britain, a British version of Captain America, is going to be someone who carries a shield. But in addition to a British Cap, we also have a Russian Cap.
Yes,
coming up in Black Widow, Red Guardian Alexei Shostakov, played by David Harbour, who's like a handsome hunk, if you ask me. If you were to ask me who I would want currently in the MCU to carry that shield moving forward, I think David Harbour has definitely paid his dues. The guy's been in prison his entire life. He's Russian. He was brainwashed by the Soviet culture, but like he's still fighting the good fight, and he's got an awesome red suit that still fits.
Can we show also though I've always loved the idea of Russian Cap, the thumbnail I made once of what I thought a Russian Cap would look
at
like.
that weird chin, the goatee.
On RDJ.
Yeah.
You think David Harbour's hot because you think that's what you're aging into.
I think it's my best chance at
that's a pretty good
Hollywood
one,
leading man. Yeah. And our final option, this is one that you recommended, but I had honestly completely forgotten about him. But he technically exists in the MCU as it is.
As a Cap surrogate? Are you talking about my man?
Nuke. Frank Simpson, who is shown in Jessica Jones.
Worst guy ever.
Not a great guy. But he, just to catch you guys up if you didn't watch Jessica Jones, Frank Simpson is kind of a Daredevil adjacent former soldier who now works in the private sector. And so he's kind of a Cap figure in that he went through the same kind of government program, the Weapons Plus program that was connected to Captain America and Weapon X with Wolverine. And his whole thing is he has 3 different pills, a red pill, a white pill, and a blue pill. The red pill he takes to like get amped up on adrenaline. The white pill he takes to stay balanced between missions, and the blue pill he takes to come down. And the analog for it in the Marvel Comics with Frank Miller was connected to soldiers who have PTSD and have addictions to painkillers and opioids, and they take pills to have different.
But that part's the too real part of it.
Real.
I like the part that he's f***ing insane, and he
crazy.
like paints a flag on his face, and he's just like, I'm Captain America too.
So it has yet to be seen how much of the Marvel Netflix world the MCU is going to adopt. Hopefully some of it.
See, some people are saying that Charlie Cox might still get to be Daredevil.
He would be great. John Bernthal is Punisher in this world. Like, I don't think you're going to find a better actor to play Punisher. So pick and choose. Keep some of it in there.
But anyway.
Different thing. So we have 12 different options here. You have the 3 categories that I mentioned. You have the immediate successors who will probably explore in Falcon Winter Soldier. Also the Bradley family who could be introduced in that show as well. And then you these kind of what if options that might be explored in different multiverse future installments. But there are a lot of different options. Really, I think the best barometer is how well you operate this shield.
Yes, I think that's why I say Falcon, because I'm like, Falcon is a human being without extra strength, and he wedges the shield in a tree. That can't be easy.
I think we should try it out.
It sounds like you already bought a toy or something.
Oh, Filup, you know me so well. So what
did you get a Captain America shield?
No, but I got the next best thing, a frisbee.
Are we trying this right now?
Yeah, let's go outside and give it a shot.
Oh, people are gonna see I'm wearing shorts again. Okay, we're gonna try to prove something. Yeah. Erik thinks frisbees are gonna be the way that we figure this out.
Frisbees equal Cap shields. It's proven, it's science.
So we came to the only trees in Burbank, California. It's these 2 historical site trees.
A true Cap is a Cap who can ricochet his shield.
He said 3 times.
So
we have a tree here, and then a statue of
a sacred historical landmark. There's too many cars because it's gonna land in the street. I'm not a good frisbee.
Coward. Oh no, sorry.
Okay, I think the problem I've been having is I've been throwing it like a frisbee when really
You have not been throwing it like a frisbee.
Oh, I've been trying to. The worthiest Cap throws it like a discus, which requires you to hold it across. You get it.
Hey!
What did I say? It hit 2 branches, ricochet, ricochet.
Ricochet, ricochet, and it took out a bad guy that you guys didn't see from Hydra. I don't think that's even how you determine it. To me, much more impressive that a human being can wedge it into a tree. This is for Falcon.
You're not gonna wedge a frisbee in a tree.
Almost. I nailed that tree, but this thing has rounded edges, but this is not what the shield end is. So I have an idea. Can we cut for a sec? I'm gonna fix this. Okay, get up.
What? Oh my God.
Okay, I had to go to the hardware store real quick, but now we at least have a chance of wedging it into this tree.
And a chance of killing someone.
Well, what do you think a cap shield is for? A piece of bark came off.
That would be someone's flesh.
I think there's an issue with this metaphor. Not only is this not like a shield, it's a plastic rounded thing with some modifications, but trees are really freaking hard. I have an idea to make this more even. Shield is to tree, as killer frisbee is to...
Whoa, mamma mia, that's a watermelon.
Okay, this I think we might have a chance with. All right, here you go. Assemble! Well. Turns out.
Well, that was interesting. I can't go back to jail. I think the big takeaway from who will carry the shield in the future, it looks like for now it's going to be Falcon. But there's a possibility that this new show, Falcon Winter Soldier, will set up Falcon to pass it on to an even newer era of Avengers so that Falcon can stay Falcon and won't have to like merge character identities because that might bum some people out.
But it's clearly not going to be either of us.
No, but that's probably what God intended. All right, let's move on to some bite-sized questions that Filup will answer for us. They're in the box. Let's do this.
Well, you can get the box too.
Take it away. Okay, so our first question is, Thor defeated Surtur easily, but couldn't even hurt Hela, while Surtur defeated Hela easily. How is that possible? What am I missing in here? Help me.
If you do watch Ragnarok kind of quickly, it is like, wait, the bad guy that he beat up at the beginning is the destroyer of all of Ragnarok at the end and is the prophesied one, and Hela is the villain of the whole movie, and this thing can defeat Hela pretty easily.
The power statuses are shifting act to act.
It does change, but it actually is totally covered in the movie. A really easy way to see it too is you can see at the beginning that Surtur is only like 3 times bigger than Chris Hemsworth in the early part. So Chris Hemsworth is the same as me, 6'3", and then if you multiply that by 3 or so, he's maybe about 19 feet or something. So he's like not short, but he ain't that big. Look at him at the end of the movie.
He's like a giant size.
He's the size of a city.
He's a colossus.
So you can both combine the idea that, of course, if he's bigger, he's more destructive, but he also has higher durability, increased strength, all these things. So he's like insane to try to defeat in that scenario. But it's specifically because if you remember in the movie, Odin had taken his power source away, the eternal flame, before, and this is the version of Surtur that has gotten the eternal flame back. So now this is what he's actually like, and he's actually one of the strongest figures in all of Marvel. So that does make sense that he actually can defeat Hela. And he's the prophesied one to destroy.
So it's the idea the eternal flame wasn't there, and now it's back, and that's why you can.
Basically, he's been bulking.
Got it. Okay, so our next question. When Tony collapses in Endgame near the beginning, Captain Marvel says she's going to pick up some sort of elixir. What was that?
You guys take care of him, and I'll bring a Bazorian elixir when I come back.
Yeah, it seems like a quick throwaway or something.
She said, blah, 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 elixir.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
We were like, what's that?
Get back in your room child.
Room child.
Room child.
Things are gonna get elixir.
She is referring to basically chicken soup, but it's kind of the equivalent. But it is cool if you do follow the idea of the Zorians. What she actually is referring to is this race that theoretically, you remember in the Aliens movies how eventually it's kind of revealed that maybe the precursor to like humans were kind of aliens, or like it got really complicated. There is a Marvel version of that, and it's that the Zorians actually were the initial basis for what eventually would become humans, Kree, Skrulls, any of these like main humanoid figures that we interact with a lot are actually just them experimenting with their own DNA, and then eventually that evolves into the rest of us. So the Zorians have theoretically these pharmaceutical abilities that can cure things for any of us on a DNA level, but it kind of is a panacea that like maybe it's a cure-all. It's complicated if you try to get into it too much, because it's like, oh, can you just bring that back and like cure cancer? For everyone?
Why isn't Carol Danvers doing that all the time?
It's like, it's pricey.
Yeah.
Get back in your room.
Yeah, she sucks. All right, so our final bite-sized question. So we actually asked our Discord fans what Marvel villain would make the best president.
So this was a question from us to our Discord patrons and fans on there. And then I'm just going to read some fun answers that we got on there. So a lot of people thought Dr. Doom would make a really good president.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Pointed out he already rules a country, so he has that experience. He is brilliant. He's adored in the country that he rules. But a lot of people also were like, well, that's too easy because he already rules a country. So they talked about Green Goblin, which Green Goblin actually, I think in a specific story has become president. And I remember when I was like in middle school or something, he was all the villains were becoming president at the time, like Luthor and stuff too. I like this person didn't understand the question perfectly. So the question was, which Marvel villain would make the best president? And he said T'Challa, which is Black Panther. And then we said villains, and they said, oh, evil T'Challa, which is great. There was talk about Thanos actually has some good ideas, but he would institute a purge almost immediately. Yeah. Thanos did nothing wrong.
Give him a chance.
This was my favorite answer, was Wilson Fisk.
Oh, yeah.
He is a man of the people, but he's a billionaire, and those never mislead us.
Never.
No.
Never.
But he becomes the mayor of New York in a Daredevil comic. I don't know, something about the MCU Wilson Fisk, too. That guy, like, I could vote for that guy.
Yeah, this guy, he's got...
appreciates art.
Right. He's a man of the arts and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
Yeah, with a car door.
Right.
And this was maybe my favorite answer that I don't agree with, but it's my favorite answer, is somebody pointed out, well, Star Wars comics are now published by Marvel.
Okay.
So Palpatine is technically a villain, and so they think Palpatine would be the best president. What I was thinking about that was, you never really hear about Palpatine's platform. Like, he could have great ideas. What if he's like instituting a galaxy basic income? Yay! You know what I mean? Like, he could be like really helping a lot of people.
I mean, isn't his ideas just what the Nazi ideas were? Just like...
He doesn't do like genocide. He does aggressive force with the troopers.
He killed all the Geonosians.
Oh, and he also blows up planets.
He sterilized the race.
He does the most epic level of genocide that's ever happened.
Palpatine hasn't killed anyone.
Well, no,
Molina.
He kills planets.
He kills planets. We don't know if anybody's on them.
He's not checking. These are his minions. He's like, I don't like that planet.
Obi-Wan said, I just heard millions of voices scream out in terror.
And that's Obi-Wan's problem. He was trying to build...
Palpatine can't hear those
voices.
voices.
Was trying to make a highway, and there was a planet in the way, and he was going to create a bunch of jobs. Anyway, I do think that it's worth noting Palpatine was elected a senator at one point, so at some point he gave good speeches and had a good platform.
Well, yeah, and he was elected chancellor too from a no-confidence vote after Valorum.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it okay. So was Hitler was elected too.
Don't bring him into this every week.
He's always in it. Okay, thanks for sending us those bite-sized questions, guys. We have time for one more personal question, personal variety.
The
always
wet one, the wet question.
Wet, oh, God, it's
segment.
wet.
The wet ones.
Wet question. Okay, so this was
We should do a show called Wet Ones where it's like we take the wet wipes with the celebrity and we have to eat this wet wipe. It burns.
All right, the gamer MJ asked us, whose first kiss was worse? I like how gamer MJ assumes that we both know each other's first kisses and have it on a ranking
Whose first
system.
kiss was worse? Well, it's the same story, so.
Okay, yeah. It's an interesting question because you have to figure out where you start counting your first kisses.
Kind of.
Like, because we all had like random kisses. We had kisses with family. We had
Many
open mouth
practicing
kisses. Yeah, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
But there's also like, your high school
The birds and the bees hook up.
relationship where it's like, this was my first kiss. Ah, yes, this one counted. Or like, when you're 28 and you meet your new girlfriend, like, this was my first kiss.
Once you keep changing what you actually think, oh, now that was the real one.
Okay, so my first kiss, if I were to go way back and say, okay, this kind of counts, it wasn't terrible. The kiss itself was fine. It was the politicized things that were going around. The context is what made it terrible.
Politicized?
There was a girl in first grade who...
Oh God, Erik, how old were you?
6?
Oh.
Well, she had a crush on me, and she sat next to me, and at one point, she kissed me on the cheek, and she had a crush on me.
Picture of little boy Erik, he'd be cute.
Yeah.
Bowl cut.
But like a couple months later, we were lining up after recess. The boys line up and the girls line up, and a boy in front of me turned around and kissed me on the cheek. I don't know, boys do.
You appeal to all audiences.
Right, yeah.
That's why you're our main
and,
host.
I was just kind of thrown by it. But I don't think, little kids are just exploring. They don't know what a lot of it means, and I don't know why he did it. But that girl immediately turns over to me, not him, to me, and points and goes, "Ew, you're gay." What makes me sad about this story is like, clearly, as a 6-year-old, someone told her that was wrong and gross.
Right.
And it's the ew that kind of haunts me, that she thought it was disgusting and that she like blamed me for it. And I think part of it was she was just like angry at herself that
rejected. I let myself fall in love.
Yeah.
Again, Angela, you said you wouldn't do this.
But I felt so bad for him because like he probably felt some shame for like putting me in that situation. Who knows why he did it? Maybe he's like the straightest dude ever.
What was he just doing with his tongue right there? He said in the lead up, I want to taste blood.
But like all of that kind of put me in a state of shame of like kissing in general is wrong, because the version of the heterosexual version of it was also felt kind of like mean and dirty. So as we got older, we were at the same school, and in 8th grade she ended up being like the most like strictest conservative. Like her parents wouldn't let her read Harry Potter.
Of
like
course.
she was we all had to do like a speech project where we had to like we were learning oratory, and she did a speech of about why abortion needs to be like globally illegal, and she ended by doing this stupid poem about like the unborn fetus's inner monologue. Don't kill me, mommy. And
God. And then she points at you and says, and Eric's gay. It should be purged.
Ew. So yeah, that was my first kiss, and that's why it was horrible. It wasn't like anything disgusting about it. It's because all the people around it made me feel horrible about it for years.
You and I have known each other for a really long time. I've never heard that story before, but I also sometimes am so vividly reminded, I guess, that our growing up was so different.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, cute, you were like kissed on the cheek. I was gonna turn 13, but I was already saying I was 13 because it ended in teen instead of 12-teen. And so I got invited by some girl that I barely knew to go to Disney World with her family trip. I think she was like taking pity on me because I didn't have money to go to Disney World.
Nah, you were a keeper. She wanted mom and dad to approve.
It turned out it was like all the kids that were like our age roughly. It was like a girls' trip, but I got to be on it. And then, we go or whatever, and then it's the night of the first night that we're there, and we're all having to sleep in the living room of the hotel, like not the like lobby, but like the main common area of the hotel. And it's just like a bunch of like young girls and me, but I didn't even realize too, I was by far the youngest. I wasn't 13 yet, and her cousin was there, and she was 15 turning 16. And it's the middle of the night, and I suddenly feel that someone's waking me up, and it's the cousin, Bethany from Pennsylvania. And I had never met anyone from Pennsylvania at this point. And she just starts like pulling me into her, and she starts kissing me, and I'm like, holy shit, this is my first kiss. And then she gets completely naked.
You were 12.
In the common area, 12 turning 13.
12.
In this common area with like a grown-up on the couch and stuff, and she's completely naked, and I'm wearing more clothes now.
You're wearing her clothes?
Exactly. I was
Someone
like,
needs to wear
this
these.
fits so well. And she starts like getting my hands and kind of like showing me stuff to do, and I'm like freaking out, like fireworks are going off in my head. We just kiss for like 15 minutes or something, and then I go weep. Then she's a little like distant the next day, and her mom is like, all the moms are saying like, all right, everybody exchange contact info, and they're not doing it. And her mom kind of hits her and goes, go get Filup's screen name. For AIM. She's like, okay. And so she's like, what's your screen name? And she writes it down. And so and what's yours? And I cherish it, and I like take it the whole way back to Miami. And then I get on AIM like as soon as I get home, and I add her as a friend, and she, comes online, door opens, and I say, hey, sup? It's Filup. And she goes, you're a loser. Don't ever talk to me again.
Oh, God.
But I terribly, because I didn't know
You
what I
realize
was
this is
doing.
being recorded,
Well, it happened. It was recorded in here and in here.
and now it has to be recorded in our
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she was so mean. That was like the meanest girl ever. Bethany from Pennsylvania. I still love you though. Yeah, we can make it work. You got kissed on the cheek though, you freak. His was worse.
It was you. You were that young girl who screamed. Well, that's our show, guys. Reminder to send us your big questions using the hashtag big question.
Also, no, I'm not going for a high five, but I'm giving a high five to Danny, who sent us some dope-ass fan art on Twitter and on our Discord. We love fan art. Here's his fan art. Send more fan art.
This is great.
This is the most handsome Erik has ever looked, by the way.
And I'm friends with Batman?
Yeah, I think that's
great.
Tommy.
I think that's Tommy. Tommy is our Batman.
Tommy's Batman.
Pretty sure.
About time. So send them to our P.O. box. You can send them legit, or you can send questions. You can send anything to our P.O. box as long as it can go in the mail, but almost anything can go in the mail.
Yeah, subscribe to this show here on YouTube, but also subscribe to the podcast version so you can get audio versions of all this stuff so you can listen to it while you're driving and not have to like watch a YouTube video while you're driving because it's dangerous. Follow Filup at Filup Molina, follow me at EA Voss, and follow new Rockstars on Twitter and on Instagram so you can keep up with all of our stuff. And remember to check in with us next week because we'll have a whole new big question for you.
Responsibly.